We are joined today by Mr. Samir Abbass. He is an Egyptologist and researcher. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Abbass. And of course, when we talk about Alexandria, those who are not Egyptians who are watching us, there are many Alexandrias worldwide.
More than 27.
27 Alexandrias worldwide. But what distinguishes our Alexandria from other Alexandrias worldwide?
That's a very good start actually for our subject today. You know, first of all, I'm reminding our audience that is still a continue of our subject of the last episode. We discussed Alexander and his death and his history, and today we will talk about the disappearance of the ancient city of Alexandria. Where is it? And also give hint of the ancient library of Alexandria. So what makes our Alexandria is different than the others, because that was Alexander's dream. It was Alexander's dream to build a city in this location to carry his name, and this city to be the biggest and the most important city in the history of mankind. So, and the interesting fact that he chose Egypt to build this city, not his homeland, Macedonia or Greece. And the reason for that, behind that, because Alexander himself, he was very well educated. He grew up reading novels, which is he's very much attached to it, and many events of these novels, in his novels, that held in an island called Pharos. And this island is near to the coast of Alexandria today. So that was before Alexandria being built. And that's why when he made it to Egypt, he remembers the novels and he remembers the books which he was reading. And he remembers the stories of the island of the pharaohs. And that's why he decided to build a city by connecting this island with the shore line with the Hippo Stadium. The Hippo Stadium is like almost 1 mile, 1,300 meters. And by connecting the island with the shoreland, he built 2 harbors and he built the city of Alexandria. That was his plan. He didn't live long enough to see the city being completed, which has happened during Ptolemy I after him. So another reason is the strategic location of Egypt and Alexandria. So Egypt in that time, it was the breadbasket of the ancient world. Alexander, to carry on his campaigns, he had to stop in Egypt to arrange for the food and supplies for his army. And of course there is many other reasons as well, but that was a very important reason. Egypt in that time, that was the only source for paper, which is called papyrus. And without paper and papyrus, there is no knowledge can be documented, except if you will carve it on tablets, on stones, or mud tablets, or you need to slaughter lots of animals to take the skin and turn that into writing material, which is very complicated. So because of that, and because of Egypt's strategic importance, and because of the ancient Egyptian civilization, that is the third reason as well. The ancient Egyptian civilization and the great knowledge they left behind, that's why he chose Egypt to be the location of the city, to carry his name, and to be the most important city among Alexandrias all over the world.
So, Mr. Abbass, can you tell us more about the important historical sites in Alexandria, and what do they tell us about its history? So,
there is many important archaeological sites in Alexandria, and there is many still buried underneath than the ones which is you can go and see it today. And I was planning today to talk about the ancient library of Alexandria and the mysterious disappearing of the ancient library of Alexandria, which is still one of the monuments which is not being discovered yet, and it is in Alexandria for sure. In the last week we talked about the tomb of Alexander and disappearance of the tomb of Alexander as well. So in modern Alexandria today, when you go to Alexandria, there is famous archaeological sites like the Roman amphitheater, like the catacombs, like Pompey's pillar, like the citadel of Qaitbay, or the fort of Qaitbay. There is some other tombs around as well, and these are the historical attractions today. So if I will choose something today which is related to our topic, and I wish that illustrations which I brought will be ready to be displayed now, I will choose the Roman amphitheater. Or the Roman theater. It's called the Roman theater or Roman amphitheater. It lies across the street from the main train station in the central part of Alexandria. And the reason why I choose this particular location, because it proves that Alexandria, ancient Alexandria, is still buried underneath. So I brought 2 maps. In the 2 maps I brought, there is one of historical ancient Alexandria, and there is another one of modern Alexandria today, which making a mark of a circle, a mark on the location of ancient Alexandria in modern Alexandria today, which lies on the heart, in the center of modern Alexandria. So when you go to the Roman amphitheater, first of all, around the perimeter wall of the theater, there is lots of buildings. The fire station, the fire department station is still there. There's an army camp nearby. There is a police station nearby. There is a theater and cinema theater, and there is lots of apartment buildings all around the world, which doesn't make sense that there is nothing underneath these buildings. And in the traditions of Alexandrians today, there is lots of stories of people, local people of Alexandria, disappeared in this area, in underground tunnels.
In underground?
Tunnels, under the buildings, which is not being found. I know that there is exaggeration in this story, but there is a reason why they believe that.
Those incidents, they appeared and those in our contemporary times, or it was?
In our contemporary time, we are talking about like stories dates back to 1950 and 60 and 1970. There is no buildings in this perimeter area, in this area.
So here is the area we're talking about?
Exactly, that is the map of historical Alexandria. And if we move to the second actually illustration, and that shows the island and shows the causeway. See, that's Alexandria today, and the circle is around, that is the historical part. So Alexandria grew actually for 20 kilometers to the east and 20 kilometers to the west.
It was a small port at first, I think.
It was a big port. It was the center of trade of the ancient world back in that time. So, and that's another picture showing how rich Alexandria was back in that time. So going to the point that, so how we can find the ancient city of Alexandria, which is still mostly buried underneath.
You were talking about the disappearance of some people.
Exactly. So Alexandria still exists. Wherever we dig in this circle, we find things. So almost 2 months ago, 3 months ago, there was digging in the Shalalat garden, and that was in the center of Alexandria, and they found architecture or constructions or a building. They believe that it could be the ancient tomb of Alexander. So we are searching for the ancient tomb of Alexander. We are searching for the royal palace. We are searching for the ancient library of Alexandria. These are big news, and I think that it was sacrifice. Other words that declaring the central part of Alexandria as UNESCO heritage sites and starting a big plan. This big plan on the long term, it could take like 20, 30, 50 years of evacuating this circle and arranging like places for the Alexandrians and there is like New Alexandria in the west, and there is other extension of Alexandria today, and gradually moving people out of this circle and start excavating this circle to bring ancient Alexandria back again. The ancient lighthouse of Alexandria, we are talking about the ancient library and the ancient lighthouse, just 2 buildings or 2 monuments. They are the most famous monuments in the ancient world. One of them is collapsed, and the ruins of the ancient lighthouse is under the water. There is more than 4,000 blocks. This actually can be fished from the harbor, and there is other statues has been fished from the harbor, which is a sunken Antiquities of Alexandria. That can be rebuilt as well. Think about excavating ancient Alexandria, which is the most famous among Alexandria ever. Finding Alexander tomb, finding the ancient library of Alexandria, and hopefully we can find any of the documents, valuable documents and books, which we think that it disappeared forever. We can find it in the sites there. Think about rebuilding the ancient lighthouse of Alexandria, which is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and that will make Egypt has 2 wonders of the 7 wonders of the ancient world standing, because there is nothing standing except just a couple of columns. I've seen it by my eye in Turkey when I went. So to wrap up our subject today, so we talked about how important ancient Alexandria and how important to find a way to bring that back alive again, and it is possible. Like what happened to Al-Qurna in West Luxor, and that's now we can have an access to hundreds of tombs from rich Egyptian history. And also I give hint for our next subject, hopefully, which is about the ancient library of Alexandria, and I didn't want it actually to go through this subject today because it's very, very important subject, and how it was started, why it was important, and how it disappeared, and where it's possible can be found, and hopefully we can find time to cover that in our next topic.
I'd like to thank you, Mr. Samir Abbass, Egyptologist. Thank you for this rich information.